Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pop Palace. My name is Jack. I am the host. Here at Pop Palace, we celebrate iconic women and queer people in pop culture and in pop music. I'm so happy to have you guys back. We are on Season 3, Episode 5, the finale. Season 3 has been all about the iconic Grace Jones. If you're new here, we started Season 1 with Madonna, Season 2 with some current artist interviews, and on Season 3, we're talking all about Grace Jones. This is our finale episode. I'm so excited we made it all this way. This episode will be covering Grace's album, Slave to the Rhythm, the Sonic Monument. Slave to the Rhythm was produced by Trevor Horn. This is a new producer for Grace, and a step aside from her typical producer, Tom Moulton. This album is less of a pop album and more of an audio biography. The title track is remixed and reimagined across the album, creating and looping rhythmic meditation on performance, control, and identity. This is something that's so unique to Grace. As we saw in the first two albums, Grace loves to repeat and loop, and creating new versions of similar songs or carrying on a medley throughout the album. The title track reimagined that. It features interview snippets and spoken word sections from Jean-Paul Goude's perspective. And if you haven't listened to the other episodes, we know Jean-Paul Goude is Grace's longtime collaborator and photographer. He has done all of her album covers up until current. Grace becomes a narrator, a muse, and a machine all at once. This album is so introspective. It takes a deep dive into Grace herself. Grace has never hid away from sharing her truth, but now she's sharing it in an even more in-depth way. The key track, Slave to the Rhythm, is a massive hit, both a manifesto and a command. It discusses her rebellion in her personal life and her connection to music and liberation. The fashion show is a commentary on the spectacle of being seen. This song can be explained in multiple ways. One way as a direct correlation to her work in fashion and being seen as a body or a place to express clothing. And she's also a spectacle in the pop world and in pop music world. She's a spectacle to everybody coming to her shows, listening to her music in the clubs, and all in between. Opera Attack is a chaotic opera. It's when elegance meets disruption. It's chaotic, but it's also very theatrical. It's very Grace Jones. Grace says, "I was not born to be a slave. I was born to be a queen." The visual identity in this is maximalist and regal. It's avant-garde. It's a little bit of everything. Think the elongated hairbox Grace had on her cover of Iconic. This album blurred the lines between music, art, and fashion like never before. I cannot get over how iconic her visuals are and how well paired they are with her sound. Grace was much more than just a performer or an artist. She was a cultural disruptor. She was the blueprint for fashion. Many designers and common people looked at Grace for what to wear. Maybe not right in the moment, but later on, they would slowly adapt her style. Grace's influence exploded beyond music. Her gender expression was a key factor to who she was. She used this to create a very authentic visual branding that was recognizable anywhere. Her involvement in club culture really got her into the spotlight. Collaborating and listening to other queer artists, she created her own genre. Grace's move to work with Jean-Paul Goude on all of her album covers, I think, is a key factor in building the brand that she has. Jean-Paul Goude captured her image so well in a way that I don't know other people could. He could directly take a picture of her and fully express who she was in just one image. Their work together helped form what we see in future artists today. Grace says, "Style is not something applied, it's something that permeates." And I think this is such a key to fashion in general. It's not something that you can read a book and then just understand. There's something innate about being able to do fashion well. And not everyone has it. Something is just ingrained in you that allows you to be able to style well. In the 80s, Grace was the future, and somehow still is. Grace's looks and identity and visuals and sound are something that always seemed futuristic. And even today, listening to her songs from the 80s still feel futuristic to me. It's almost as if she was predicting a future that still hasn't happened yet, or one that happened in another world. Grace was a muse for many, many designers, like Thierry Mugler, Issey Miyake, and Alexander McQueen. Grace taught us that presentation is power. She showed us how creating your image and building your self-worth is power. Rebellion is joy. Rebellion is not hiding who you are and being your true, authentic self. She's gender fluid, fierce, untouchable. She gave queerness a high-gloss armor. Something that I really appreciate about Grace is that she showed queerness in a way that is high fashion, high glamour, high art, and is contrasted to what most of the popular belief was during the time, that queerness was trashy and gross and all those like stigmas that were around that time and still around today. Grace showed queerness in an unimaginable, regal way. Throughout this brief season, we've gone over Portfolio 1977, which was Grace's debut album. It was theatrical and campy. And then in 1978, she had a little bit more confidence and more glam, still working with her producer Tom Moulton. And then in 1979, we have Muse. Muse was a disco swan song with a gospel edge. And then we move into 1980. This is a complete transformation for Grace. Not only working with new people and Sly and Dunbar at Compass Point Studios, she's working in a new genre. Reggae, post-punk. It was a little dangerous. And then we move on to Nightclubbing in 1981. A masterpiece of cool, dub and defiance. This was Grace Jones' cool girl era. Then we have Living My Life. This is when Grace picks up her pen. She almost writes an autobiography. She sings all about herself. And then finally, we have Slave to the Rhythm in 1985. This is a high-concept art pop manifesto. This is when Grace truly pours out all of her feelings about art, fashion, and popular culture. She says, "I never do anything by accident. Every move is calculated." And I know that's a quote we used in the past, but I feel like this is so fitting for Grace Jones. Everything she does is methodically researched and prepared. Her albums trace an arc from star to symbol, a woman sculpting herself, becoming the legend. So why does her legacy still matter? Well, Grace defined what a woman, a black artist, and queer icon could look like, and could sound like. She didn't soften for comfort, she confronted for change. She's a rebel in music, and she allowed for other artists like Beyonce, Janelle Monáe, Yves Tumor, and many other queer artists walking the path she carved out. She taught us that identity is art, and art is resistance. Grace became a mirror for anyone who's felt other, and showed them how to own it. That is something I really, truly appreciate and love about Grace Jones. She doesn't find herself abnormal and put herself in a position to become normal. No, she embraces her uniqueness and uses that to express her power. And with that, we are finished with season 3. I know this season was small and brief, but I just wanted to be a little snippet about Grace Jones. I didn't want to hold you down for too much time, but I genuinely appreciate all of your listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening to. Follow us on Instagram at pop.palace. And thank you for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as Grace Jones says, create, don't imitate. That's how you live forever. Bye.